In our last video, we created our little hiker dude for that icon, and make sure before we proceed that you lock the background layer and that you are selecting the icon art layer to work on. Move over to the tent. We're going to skip the campfire for the minute. And we're going to be working on the tent. We're going to use something called a shaper tool, which is located underneath the join tool that you just used. It shares a spot with the pencil tool, smooth tool, and path eraser tool. So make sure you started with the shaper. And we're going to start by drawing. You're going to click and drag to create a pretty rough drawing of a rectangle. Don't worry too much about it. It's going to get changed anyway. The shaper tool will correct what you're doing and life will be good again. See, it automatically knows and understands that you wanted to make a triangle, and there's the triangle. Now we're just going to have to kind of guesstimate about the other smaller rectangle that makes the door, because we don't have a clear center on this thing. The default for the shaper is to put a gray fill on it, regardless of whether you specify a different fill color or not. So we're just going to guesstimate and draw another triangle that's smaller, that's going to overlap the first one, and that's going to be the cutout for our door. While we're drawing, however, we're still going to put in the sticks at the top that would stick out of the tent, and we're going to make this into like a single unit. So I want you to start by just clicking and scribbling in the blank area and then into that first triangle, that's the smaller one. Make sure that you go up into the area that overlaps the larger one, and when you release, we get a triangle with a cutout in it, and you can see where the other one was. We're going to click on that, still using the shaper tool to select it. When you select the group, you're going to see that there is this little arrow on the side. That little arrow widget will be important later. In the control panel, change the stroke color to none. Changing the stroke color to none affects the entire group, including the two lines that were supposed to represent the tent poles. Click again on the surface of the triangle. Clicking any of the filled shapes enters into face selection mode. The selected surface is identified by a crosshatch overlay. You can use this method to edit the fill color, but not the stroke color of only the selected element within the group. Using the control panel, change the shape's fill color to black. Click the shaper group again to show its bounding box, and then click the arrow widget on the side. The shaper group maintains the original shapes even after you knock out or merge those specific areas. Clicking the arrow widget on the shaper group bounding box enters into construction mode, and you can use that to access and edit the individual shape properties of the component shapes. So now that we are in construction mode, click the black triangle's fill to select that object. Okay? Adjust the bounding box handles until it approximately matches the shape of the template image. So now we're going to narrow this down so that we have approximately the same outside shape. Click the edge of the inner triangle to select that element. Adjust the bounding box handles on it until you get something that's resembling the, oops, don't rotate it, until you get something that resembles what we had for a template. It doesn't have to be exact, remember, it just needs to be close. Okay? Select each of the tent pole lines. and define a 4-point black stroke. You can shift click to do this. And make the stroke black. Click away from the shaper group, and that's going to exit construction mode. Now you can delete the template for the tent and remember what we did in the last exercise to get the final group? Okay, so let's go pick up this unit, and you can see you have the shaper, everything in there. So let's take that and let's make a group. Okay, now unlock the background, pick up the background rectangle, group that, take that group, lock it, and rename this campsites, and save your work and relock your background. Now we're going to go back and work on that dreaded campfire. Make sure that you're working again on the icon art layer and your background is locked. And if you want to, you can zoom in a little bit tighter on that campfire. You're next going to draw with the pencil tool. Back to where the shaper tool was and pick up your pencil. Click the default for the fill and stroke. That'll give you a white fill with a black outline. 1-point stroke. Now double click on the pencil tool and you'll get the pencil tool options. You can set each one of these. Fidelity determines how far apart the anchor points are going to be. Smooth gives you fewer points and smoother curves, but less accuracy. More accuracy means more anchor points, but the path is going to be a little choppy. You can fill the strokes, but by default they're not filled. Keep selected can be checked so that the line you draw is automatically selected when you release the mouse button. Option key toggles to a smooth tool, so you can toggle back and forth between the pencil and the smooth tool. Close paths when ends are within so many pixels. You can specify a number of pixels apart so that the paths will automatically join. Edit selected paths means that if you draw near a selected path, you can change that path. It's an important distinction because when keep selected is checked, you can accidentally hit the first path instead of creating a second one. So we're going to set this up by setting the fidelity slider to the midpoint. Check closed paths. Closed paths, make sure that is checked. And make sure the others are unchecked. Now say OK to close the dialog box. Click at the bottom left point of the fire icon. Hold down your mouse and begin dragging around the shape. When you get near your original starting point, you'll get a hollow circle in the cursor icon, and that's when you release your mouse. So bear with me. You're going to just kind of draw along like so. There is no right or wrong on this, okay? It's as close as you can get to what you're drawing, okay? Since you're the designer, you're just going to follow this as closely as you can. And see, there's the little round circle, and you're going to release. When you release the mouse button, the shape shows the defined stroke color, but not the fill, because we did not check the Fill New Pencil Strokes option in step 4. Click near the top point of the white flame area and you're going to put that cutout piece in. And release when you get that circle. Get your rectangle tool and draw in the bar at the bottom that the flame is sitting on. Now go ahead and delete the template. Use the selection tool. Pick up all 3 of these shapes. Hold down your Shift key. Change your shape so that you have a fill that's black and no outline. Now go to Object, Compound Path, Make. The compound path is a single shape that's made up of more than one path. They can usually have an inner empty area like inside a letter O. The option combines all 3 selected shapes into a single shape, sort of like the grouping thing we did, but the area of that smaller top shape is removed from the larger shape behind it. This is now all a single unit. Remember what we needed to do again. Here is our composite. We're going to, and see, it is all one unit. We don't have to group this. But now we're going to take this, we're going to unlock the background layer, select the background, and we're going to go to Object, Group, name this group Campfire, and we're going to lock the object, and we're done with that selection.